Hi everyone and welcome to Inderes TV. Today we're going to talk about Marimekko with Analyst Rauli Juva. Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Marimekko is a fashion brand with clothes and accessories and home decoration stuff, but actually they sell more than products, I would dare to say. It's more like a lifestyle concept, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think if you think so, they have succeeded in something, because that's definitely what they want to be, and that is perhaps one of the key characteristics of a successful brand, that it's more than products. That basically even defines a good brand. But and I definitely do believe that they have succeeded in it, perhaps already originating from their history and their unique products, but especially now during the past 5-6 years, as they have been able to grow quite well and renew their brand, they have definitely have been able to communicate their brand and renew their brand to kind of resonate also with some new customer groups, which they maybe have not had that much success in the past.
So they're doing something right in their communication.
Yeah,
we talked about that earlier, because I said I'm not that big of a fan of the product, but I still am, and I do not own the company, but I still belong to the customer group, and they are really reaching out to me.
Yep.
So something is done right.
Yeah.
And you said that they have succeeded to get on board other customers as well than they were from the beginning. It's a 70-year-old brand, and what would you say is the secret behind the success in recent years?
Yeah, that's maybe hard to pinpoint. That's just that they have been able to kind of bring out maybe new products. Of course, is the key, that they have products and designs that resonate also, perhaps especially to younger consumers. They have maybe seen, at least in Finland, maybe earlier as a brand for more of the middle-aged or older people, and that has been definitely one success. But I think there is no one magic bullet to it. It's just refreshing the designs and the products, and like you said, communicating also it to kind of maybe in a more modern way to the consumers. So
they are succeeding in the message with the durability and quality and sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah. Of course, that kind of stems from the Finnish design heritage. So yeah, that is one.
Something doing right there. It's nowadays, it started in Finland 70 years ago. Nowadays it's more of a global brand with at least activities in 35 different countries. But if you split up the markets and tell us about them a bit more.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Finland has been the home base, obviously, for long, and is clearly the largest market still. So if we go back, I think 15-20 years up until that point, it was something like 80% Finland, and then they were relatively big in Japan, but still in absolute sales quite small, and then all the other international sales was a bit, let's say, uncoordinated. That was just that somebody somewhere have kind of picked up Marimekko and wanted to sell it to the his or her local community or whatever. So that was quite uncoordinated still at that point, and then they started to really build up the international growth, and that has been basically by kind of setting up a store concept, for example, that they can sell, and more kind of focusing on what kind of selection they are selling to international markets. So Finland is still big, actually huge. So it has grown very well also in the past few years. So Finland is like 60% of the sales at the moment. So it's very decisive still for the success of the company, and then Japan is quite big, and the whole Asia Pacific region is like the key growth area still, basically has been for the, I don't know, past 20 years at least for Marimekko. And then they tried to do a growth effort in North America like 10 years ago, but that didn't really succeed. But now they are actually will hold a CMD in a month and tell us more about the strategy for the coming years. So then we will kind of hear what is the next maybe key focus market on growth. So now up until now they haven't been that much focusing, for example, in Central Europe or other Scandinavia where they do have activities, but they haven't really focused on the growth that much.
But the different sales channels and concepts for the different regions. Could you open up a bit about how they are selling the products?
Yeah. So basically they have their own retail, so stores and also web store, and then they have wholesale, so meaning that their partners run the stores then, or shop in shops, or whatever the concept is. And roughly speaking, it's so that Finland is clearly more retail, and then the international markets are clearly more wholesale. And actually the Asia Pacific market is almost fully run, and the growth is driven by the partner stores, and that's actually a quite convenient way for Marimekko, since it's still a quite small company, so putting their own money in international growth is still a big investment for them, and this way they can kind of they just deliver the kind of give the concept and help with the concept and deliver the products and get the wholesale margin from that, and then the partners can handle the actual retail operations.
So this is a much more strategic way to build growth internationally than in the past.
Yeah, definitely so.
Yeah.
And it's less kind of capital intensive and less doesn't require that much money. Of course, they do need to put some money into marketing so that the partners also kind of can succeed, but still.
Yeah, and growth is the theme here. The companies communicating really clearly that growth is the target, both domestically and abroad. And they have been, according to that growth, on that theme, they have been able to grow with good margins. So what's the secret there? Is it the concept that you told, or will this be possible in the future as well?
Yeah, it's definitely possible if they continue growing. Basically, of course, the starting point, if you look back this 5-6 years, which is the kind of big success time for Marimekko, and the time also when the current management has been on board. Prior to that, the profitability was really poor. So of course, starting from that, they needed to improve that, and because they have quite high gross margins in their products, and they have their own retail, which kind of have the certain fixed cost level, and then when the sales start to go up, it's natural that they get operative leverage and the margins go up, and that we have now seen quite clearly during the past few years. Now when the EBIT margin is already, it was at 20% last year, will be a bit below most likely for this year, but still on a very good level. That and the improvement is not so clear. So even if they would continue growing, I don't think they will improve the margin that much. But definitely that will enable them, if they continue growing like 5-10% or whatever in a year, that definitely enables them then to kind of also put in growth investments, basically increasing the cost to marketing or some other efforts which then supports also the growth going forward. So that's maybe the important thing there. But I wouldn't assume that the margins as such would go much higher anymore. They can go a few percentage points higher, but if they can keep up a good growth.
Yeah, still profitable growth. So what about, if you look at, we're going to talk a bit more about the recent numbers from the Q2 later on, but they clearly showed now that growth is still happening in Finland domestically, but internationally it won't be easy. What are your comments on this? How do you see there is a strategy, and they will tell us more, but what are your hunches at this point?
Yeah. If you're referring to the Q2 numbers where the international growth was a bit sluggish at 5%, that had to do with the quite strong comparison year last year when they had the 70-year celebration for the brand, and then also there's always the impact of this timing of these wholesale deliveries, since the numbers are still fairly small and you can have like 500,000 deliveries in either quarter, so it swings that a bit. So I wouldn't be worried about the international growth as such, and they continue to expect that the international sales will grow clearly this year, whatever that means, but at least over 10%. I think we are estimating around 15%. So that's still a very, very healthy and good growth in the international markets.
Yeah. One thing that I kind of thought about myself before we sat down here is that what are the biggest competitors to Marimekko? Because it would be interesting to know what type of segment you would put it, because it's clearly not a luxury product, but it's still above some other brands. How would you define this, and in which segment do they belong?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't have a good answer to that. And I guess that for the company, it's actually good that they don't belong into a clear segment, because then they are, of course, don't have in that way direct, like head-to-head competition. Of course, competition is everywhere in fashion and in
really
home decoration. So you might say that like Iittala brand owned by Fiskars is definitely in Finland a competitor to their home decoration, for example.
But internationally, I mean, but it's a good thing for the company that they can really swing it their own way.
Yeah, exactly so. And I do think that there's a difference also perhaps a bit in the market positioning and the perception, at least, that in Finland it's quite well-known brand and kind of if you simplify it bluntly, everybody can buy and even perhaps buys Marimekko at least once in a lifetime in Finland, but in the international markets it's of course much more smaller and maybe a bit more exclusive and in the higher price point, but like you said, definitely still not luxury. But if we think fashion, it's not like cheap fast fashion like H&M or Lindex, but definitely not luxury either. So somewhere in between. But I don't have any good good kind of clear competitors to mention.
Yeah, a clear in the middle somewhere lifestyle concept with a broad fan base, at least.
At
least domestically. Let's talk about the collabs they have been doing in recent years. They have been doing big collaborations with other brands, Adidas and IKEA, and also with well-known fashion designers with big names. Is this something you see? Is it more like a marketing thing, or is it of relevancy also financially, or what is the?
Yeah, well, it's definitely both. So it's a good way to do marketing and even get paid for it. So so it's if you look at they report the licensing income separately, and that has been 2-3 million in terms of sales, but that's basically almost fully profit as well. So it's even if a few years back that was a huge number of their operating profit, but still today 3 million is close to 10% of their annual EBIT, so it definitely has a financial relevance as well. But perhaps even more importantly, maybe it's definitely kind of increasing the brand awareness.
Yeah, awareness and visibility. It's a really smart move.
Yeah, and that also shows that those they have had this for I don't know, since decades ago, basically, but now in the recent years it has been clearly more frequent, so that also shows that the brand is definitely kind of improving in attractiveness.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about risks. If we divide it into external and internal risks, so externally, inflation, if you think about the company as a whole, of course, with their own margins and their own cost structure, but also customer group and less income to spend.
Yeah, perhaps
How do
more.
you see?
Yeah, perhaps more important the latter, I would say, and especially in Finland, like I already said before, in Finland, it's more spread out and kind of widespread brand. So a change in the overall consumption or consumer confidence in Finland definitely has an effect on Marimekko, or I think so, and historically it has been so. Whilst in the international markets they are still so small and in a bit of a higher price group that perhaps there the link is not so direct. So I think internationally they at least have the ability to grow even in a weaker macro environment. But in Finland, I think it will be very, very tough, especially given they have grown so much. Their sales is up 40% in 3 years in Finland. So that's a very hard combination to keep on growing. And then the cost regarding their margins, I wouldn't be that worried. Because it's not a low price brand. Their margins are quite good, so I would assume that any like price or cost hikes should be manageable. Of course, it requires work to push through the price increases and managing the supply chain, so on. But I think that side is manageable, definitely.
Yeah. Where is the production based? I mean, what about increasing energy prices and how much will that?
Yeah, that's spread out a bit. They do have something in Finland here in Helsinki, still some printing, and then most of it is outsourced. I can't remember the exact figure, but there are locations, but they do have something in Europe and some of the lower cost countries in Europe, I think, and then in Asia as well. So the energy prices shouldn't have a direct impact because they don't run their own factories. So it comes, if it comes, it first impact their kind of outsourcing partners, and then it comes to them. And like I said, they should be able to manage also the pricing.
A risk I actually thought about was the internal risk of the company. The company CEO, Tiina Alanko-Kasko, she has really made an amazing job with the company. And I'm sure it's not a one-woman show in any case, but still, is it depending too much on one person, or how would you see this?
Yeah, she has done definitely a good job, like I referred to earlier. During her tenure, the performance has been very, very strong. So definitely she has done a good job. But I would agree that it's not dependent on one person. So of course there are other people also. A lot of people basically doing the designs and brand marketing and so on, which is in the core of the Marimekko's performance and competitive edge. So I think if she would decide to leave, which I don't think she has any plans, because she has been in the company for long and seems quite excited still about this prospect. But if she would for some reason leave, it would be a loss for the company, but not a catastrophe in any way.
Yeah, because but if you look back when she came into the picture, I think she has really done a good job changing the course for the company, but that has been going on for quite a while, so probably the risk is smaller.
Yeah, that's right. And there is, of course, the main owner, Mika Ihamuotila, who bought a, was it 10% stake or whatever he had back in 15 years ago, and he was himself CEO for quite a while, and for some reason he didn't get the company going so well, and Tiina was already at the company at that point, and then she was lifted as a CEO. So it's definitely also somewhat of a continuum of what Mika has been doing, and he's still the chairman of the board. So
yeah, there, as we stated before, something they're doing right at least. So how would you, now we have summed up the case, how would you look at this company from an investor's point of view at this point? Some thoughts about valuation and longer term prospects.
Yeah. Well, we are somewhat concerned about the prospects for the second half of this year, like I said, especially in Finland due to the weaker consumer confidence, but also a kind of bit more technical fact that which they have flagged themselves as well, that they had quite big campaign deliveries in the Finnish wholesale side last year, and that will bring down lower the sales this year, because that will not recur. So there will be definitely a deceleration of the growth due to that, and due to that the comparison figures are clearly stronger for the second half, and while there for the first half it was still kind of comparing to the some of the lockdown times the previous year. And then also for the coming years, we do believe that in the Finnish market it will be difficult to grow or continue growing quite fast. So like I said, they are up 40% in 3 years, and we believe that they are able to hold on to that sales level and grow a bit, but definitely in the Finnish market growing 10%, which is the current financial target, seems really hard, and we don't believe that is achievable. But in the international markets, definitely over 10% growth should not be a problem, even if the economy is a bit weaker. But especially in looking a few years out, kind of annual over 10% growth should be at reach, at least in the international market. So we believe that there will be growth, but definitely less than the previous years. And then, like I said already, that the margin level is already quite high, so we also expect the margin to kind of stabilize as the growth cools as well. And then combining that with the valuation, we think that valuation as such is quite neutral, but with this slower earnings growth we are expecting going forward, we don't really see the kind of expectations for the share, the upside going forward to be enough to be on the positive side. So that's why we have a reduce on the share.
Yeah, and the Q2 report was released a couple of days ago, and some quick takeaways from that, if you summarize a bit.
Yeah, I think we already touched on some of the points. So the international growth was a bit sluggish, but that's not really a big concern. The Finnish growth was actually very good, partly due to the weak comparisons, as I mentioned already, and then the profits basically grew in line with the sales growth. Yeah. So margin was stable. So overall, it was, from the figures perspective, it was very well in line with our and also the market expectations, and most of the outlook comments were also unchanged, maybe a touch more very also in their communication of the consumer confidence situation, but no big changes on their side of the outlook. So it was pretty well in line with all the expectations.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all these comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.